Happy Tuesday. Thought I'd do a quick video. I've tried a few times today, but I went in the woods this morning for a little walk and to get the creative juices flowing. And I was listening to music and I had a little tiny bit of cannabis. And it was beautiful. And the sky's been quite weird today. Lots of feathery clouds, and actually now, I'll just show you now. You can see through these dirty windows. Can you see those clouds up there and the lines through them? It's crazy. Anyway, this guy in the woods that I was talking to, he was telling me how these woods used to be teeming with life. Rabbits, hares, squirrels, deer, everything, and that there's nothing anymore because of hunters. And so the conversation followed on to people with no compassion, and this old guy called them empty shells, and I was like resonating with him. But then he said, they're just born like that, they're just born empty shells. And I thought, I don't think so, you know. Something I've thought about a lot my whole life. Nature, nurture, people born bad or whatever. And there's definitely genetic markers and certain traits, both positive and negative, productive or detrimental, you know, that are specific to our DNA, I think, or bloodline or whatever, which you know, the markers are there to be switched on or off. But I think the switching on or off, in my feel, is through trauma or events in your childhood which shape you. And I think it is a fracturing of the self. I always felt like it was, you know, fracturing of the soul, really, and that your soul is sort of fractured off and you're trying to rebuild it throughout your life. But I like to listen to Gabor Mate, and he's really good if anyone's interested in him. He touches on all the things that I personally am interested in, which is psychedelics, childhood trauma, addiction, and healing. But, you know, he puts onus on parents, which is what we should be doing, what I do to myself, you know, to make me a better parent, is I have to acknowledge even what the silence does, the internal chemistry of your being and how that impacts on a child or a baby in your environment. And it's difficult to acknowledge that and to look at it. People don't want to do it. They don't even want to look at themselves. That's why there's only a small proportion of humanity who's on this journey of self-discovery and healing and attaining higher states of consciousness and just trying to feel better in these bodies that we're born in. But people even less want to be looking at their own parenting, I feel. And, you know, it's difficult. It's so difficult. I had such a hard time the first 2 years because I think I'd spent my whole life understanding how bad parenting decisions or traumatic experience as a child can shape your soul, fracture yourself. That I understood the gravitas of such a role as to be a mum. And so when I became a mum, I became even more self-critical because I understood how important it was. And on the outside, I was doing all the right things. I wouldn't dream of leaving them alone crying or anything like that. I wouldn't let them cry themselves to sleep. I wouldn't try any kind of training or anything like that. It was much more, what did someone call it once? Free-range parenting. And I knew at the time it was the right thing to do, but it was wearing me down, it was wearing me out, and I wasn't feeling good inside. So I couldn't, you know, I just couldn't get over this. And then I had 2 kids before, I had 2 under 2, not for long, but 2 kids under 2, and so the responsibility, the weight, everything, you know, the gravitas of it all doubled, but there was still just one of me, and then, you know, some more self-loathing came, and I'm not good enough, I can't do this in the way it's supposed to be. And I'm still learning now. My kids are 4 and 2, but what I'm understanding more through understanding energetic fields and just feeling into my intuition more and understanding how the internal creates the external. And the external can manipulate the internal, but the internal can override. So when I'm feeling good and when I'm in the present, which I'm in way more now, these last 2 years have been brilliant. It's just onwards and upwards for me. And I find it easier as the kids get older, and most people say, you won't say that when the teenagers or when they're fighting with each other. And it's like, whatever, as long as I can communicate, in a variety of ways, silent communication, auric communication, telepathy, whatever, which is what babies just pick up on energy. But verbally, if I can, it's better for me to see these souls grow into their own and to have a hand in shaping them in a positive way. I never had a baby for it to be a baby forever, because it's fucking difficult. I've had enough of shit for a lifetime. Bless her, my little girl had diarrhoea yesterday. I had just yellow coma sauce everywhere, constantly, like 6 baths. But anyway, so it's difficult and nobody admits it, nobody talks about it. Everybody's just trying to keep up with the Joneses, and everybody looks like they're taking it all in the stride, being a mum or a dad or whatever. That it leaves you feeling like you can't even speak about it. I've always been pretty honest about it, but I think that's because I've had a detrimental, internal look, and I've been self-deprecating, and I've tried to be honest about how I'm feeling, but it was difficult, and it was listening to Gabor Mate talk about trauma transference that made me really look inside and change my ways even further, because I understood of the impact that just my internal chemistry was having on my kids, the environmental. So back to what this guy said, I don't think anyone's born an empty shell. I think you're all a full soul. You're innocent when you're born. You're a whole self. You're a whole soul. You're a part of it all. And throughout experience and traumas, it fractals off, and we spend our lives trying to attract back that sense of self. So it's interesting, isn't it? But again, it's a bit of both, isn't it? I think we've got these genetic potentials, and in my opinion, the trauma switches it on. And I think because I'm interested in the neuroplasticity of the brain as well, and I'm very much glass half full in terms of how we can heal ourselves with nothing but self-reflection, at the base of it, but with the help of plant medicines or therapy or Reiki, energy healing, whatever, it's all reversible. We can change these blockages in the brain. We can rewire neural pathways, central nervous system, the list goes on and on. I completely buy into positive manifestations and the placebo effect as well, and it's very, very interesting. The hope that I have for the future of mental health is massive. I just wish that the research and the money was ploughed into it rather than horrendous modern day shit that goes on these days. So it just had me thinking a lot. I know I've said before I want to talk about parenting quite a lot in the future, and I hope to be able to reach some parents and maybe help them understand a little bit as well, because the other thing is postnatal depression and how prevalent that is, and I think it needs working through in a better way. It needs understanding in a better way, and not to scare the parent and to make them feel even worse, but just to understand how it's nothing external, it's the internal, it's how you're emanating your energy at a very young age, which is important. I was so anxious and so frantic and so Um, it all felt so full on. I just, I wanted a minute. I just wanted a minute. I wanted to be able to sleep. I wanted to not have a baby on me all the time. The noise, everything. It was so difficult, I found, and it doesn't need to be. It's all nice and natural and beautiful when your insides are doing all right. And so, yes, I'm going to finish off writing this little thing that I wanted to write. I'm not going to get a chance to finish it today, this better video that I've got in mind. And I've got some sky footage that I might just stick on the end of this because I can't find any music to go with it. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to have a little chat about that. This guy just sparked off, a bit of. I just thought, people aren't empty shells. It's like the shell can be filled up. The shell can be brought back to life. I think I have hope for rehabilitation. I have hope for change in detrimental human expressions across the board, no matter what that is. I had a little song going off in my head then, save the world, heal the world, blah, 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 blah. I think it was just Michael Jackson mixed together. Anyway, I'm going to stick this sky shit on the end, and I hope everyone has a nice day. Be good to your kids. Remember, it's the inside that matters, not the outside. Doesn't matter if you're taking him to clubs and you're going to the park 7 times a day and you're giving them the greens and the vegetables and the best things. If you're a messed up fucking wreck inside, you're having an impact, and it's much more better to be feeling good and to be emanating positivity and welcoming vibes to your child than it is to keep up with the Joneses in any other way. Happy Tuesday. Bye.